Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. This has been a book that was near and dear to my heart since I was a kid. Thankfully, I picked this up this weekend, found another copy. My original one, I poked through it so much that it got warped and pages were falling out of it. It was a mess, and I think my mom just eventually ended up throwing it away. But that's okay. I finally got a decent price one, and I want to share it with you guys. But I have some examples that I want to show in modern and kind of older comics compared to this, because there's a lot of newer artists and old school artists that will reference this book. It comes up in conversation a lot in my circles. So that's what I want to share with y'all, and I'll use some examples. Now, disclaimer. I want everyone to understand that as I'm going through this, I am not bashing artists, because I have not drawn in a long time. I am really out of practice. But yet, kind of growing up with comics, growing up with a mom who was into art, me who loves to draw, one of my best friends, Woodrow Illustrations, who is an excellent artist. I can appreciate it. I understand in theory, and I bet you if I applied myself in that realm again, I could get back to where I was, but too much of my life. Anyway, with that said, I just want you all to know that I'm not bashing the artist. I'm just trying to show why old school techniques still hold up to this day, and why a lot of older books can still impact why you look at a lot of newer books and you wonder, what the hell were they thinking? I've said this a lot in my older reviews, so I wanted to bring it to light in this. So with that said, understand I'm not trying to bash anybody in the arts. Keep drawing, keep writing, keep inking, keep coloring, whatever it is that you have that artistic expression within you. But it never hurts to always keep pushing yourself and taking yourself out of your comfort zone, hence why I just need to get some pens and paper and just push myself. With that said, let's dive into How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And yeah, listen to this from Stan Lee and John Buscema. Dedicated to every white-eyed guy or gal who has ever held a pencil, pen, or crayon and dreamed of telling fantastic stories through pictures. To everyone who's ever thrilled to the sight of a dazzling drawing and longed to be able to copy it, or better still, to create an original. In short, to everyone and anyone who's ever wanted to be a comic book artist, you're our kind of people. We know just how you feel. We see, we've been there ourselves. Stan and John. Now, with that said, folks, I love that not only do they teach you, how to draw, but they go a step further and say, okay, here's some of the things that you'll need to do traditional work. Pencil, pen, brush, India ink, white opaquing paint, just stuff. I mean, some of it's a little dated, but a lot of this is still used in the arts. I mean, you go back and you look at, like, let's say Jack Kirby's drawing table, you'll see a lot of these tools on his desk. People would always, from people that I've talked to in the comic world and stuff I've seen in documentaries, they always said that Jack Kirby's artboard was never clean. He was always covered in graphite and ink, and his board just matched it while he's sitting there creating all of the characters that we know and love while having his big ass stogie in his mouth. So I love that John here just drew this, inked this, and then Stan was just saying, here, a square. Invaluable for drawing, borders and keeping in lines parallel. For everyone who says, I can't draw a straight line without a ruler, now you've no excuse. And they make it fun. Like, when you're reading this, yes, it is an instructional guide. Let's call it what it is. But you don't feel bored like you're reading like a school textbook, like on art theory. You're getting it. Like, for example, they break everything down, like, what's this, what's this, what's this. So, for example, A. The first page of the story with a large introductory illustration is called the splash page. Letters drawn in an outline with space for color to be added are called open letters. It's just great little things. Now, we're not going to go through this whole book. I just wanted to give you a taste of what the opening pages are. I want to dive into what I mean as we're going into the comics. So check this out. I had to bookmark these because I couldn't remember the pages. And they break them into chapters, and just look at this. Okay, yeah, it's a chapter beginner, but look at that awesome pencil of Namor. Freaking awesome. And they title it, the name of the game is Action. Action, a Marvel specialty, a Marvel trademark. Sharpen your pencil, Pilgrim. Here's where we separate the men from the boys. And we get into the basics. Just being able to draw the figure is only half the job. When you're drawing comic book superhero sagas, you've got to be able to move it, to animate it, to put it into action. Now, again, I've said this before, not in these words, but in a lesser degree. Try to exaggerate your action. Keep the figure loose, supple, always in motion. Notice how 3 or 4 lines establish the action for you. Once you've got the swing of it, the feel of it, then build upon the figure. And they give you examples. That's why, again, I think you can get them at Hobby Lobby, but the mannequin, there's a name for them, but I can't remember what it is, but it's just basically a wooden mannequin. It helps you conceptualize how you want to do your action, and you can see it here. See how this is exaggerated? It says best. Going in for the forward punch, best. And then they give you the whole motion, weak, because it's flat, it's not doing anything. This is okay, but it can be exaggerated. Same here, same here, same here, same here. Just like with traditional acting, like the era of Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, who are classically trained. Think about them compared to like newer actors. When they talk, like Jean-Luc Picard, or when Ian McKellen was Gandalf or Magneto, they exaggerated their voice, their movements, their eyes, because you're expressing the emotion. That's why in a lot of the old silent film era, that's why a lot of times you'll see like close-ups of the characters and their eyes will just get like really buggy, or their mouths might start trembling. It's because they have to over-exaggerate to convey that feeling. Same thing here. You want everything to be dynamic because you're using a 2D medium to represent a 3D environment. And so they just show you how you can start with stick figures and just build upon it. And they're saying keep it loose. Start a sketch pad. Start a sketch page to where you kind of get that, yeah, it looks like crap, but you have to kind of get the visualization. Same thing on building the spheres and the squares that we talked about at the beginning of the book. It says, well, we know you're anxious to start drawing a complete figure now, so let's get right to it. John has reduced the process to a matter of 5 steps. And we just gone over the first 3 here. Start getting the details, erasing your lines, and then shading. And there we go, a complete kick-ass looking Luke Cage. Now here, composition, the layout. Look at this, how you're kind of getting the idea of how to make everything look dynamic. Call it composition, call it layout, call it design. It all adds up to one vitally important point. You've got to put your picture together so that it's pleasing to the eye, gets the message across clearly and interestingly. The one crucial rule you should never forget is the simpler the design, the easier it will be for the reader to understand and enjoy it. Make your designs exciting, startling, powerful, but keep them simple. So look at this, how we see Reed going after the mole man here. How we get the, the perspective. Same thing of him stretching over Namor, or, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have no idea who these are. I don't know if those are supposed to be Skrulls or what, but you still kind of get the simple idea of composing and perspective here. Now, the one thing, again, I've not had this book for years, but the parts that have always stuck out with me, and when I talk about comics with you guys, this is what I'm always trying to get at. So I hope that this helps everyone kind of understand that I'm not trying to be an old fart. I'm just trying to show that there are better ways to show dynamicness. Another vitally important element of the design is so-called camera angle. Obviously, you as the artist can draw a scene from whatever angle you desire. You can look at a scene head on, you can tilt the camera, the viewer's eye upward, or down or sideways, or any way you wish, just as a movie director can arrange his camera shots to suit his own taste. As you can imagine, some camera angles are more dramatic, more interesting than others. It's your job to find the angle that will make the most of the picture you want to present, and then to illustrate it for your reader. Here are 3 examples of different camera angles depicting 3 different scenes. Let's study them for a moment. So look at this. Doctor Strange in a room. It's flat, simple, obvious camera angle. Nothing really dramatic or unusual about it. Same situation, but by changing the camera angle, see how the scene has a sense of urgency or impending drama. So not only when you're drawing, you want to think about, and I've said this over and over again, visual storytelling on top of the narrator's text. That's why I get real agitated on a lot of newer books where there's like 6 million word balloons. Less is more. And it shows here. Same with J. Jonah Jameson, where he's probably screaming about, give me pictures of Spider-Man, but look at how, there's nothing innately wrong with it. It's drawn good, but it's not conveying anything. Same here, look, they change it. Different camera angle, now he really seems to be letting poor Petey have it. Same with Dr. Doom. Look at this, just flat on pointing, whatever. But then that's something you'll remember from a Dr. Doom comic, from a Johnny Quest episode, anything like that. Now I want to stop here. I wanted to give you guys some ideas on why this book is special to me, but why this stands out. Now, I'm going to put this here, and we're going to go kind of back into what we talked about yesterday, the death of Superman. Even though these aren't panels per se, like, the small build-up panels like you would see in a traditional comic book, but look at how Jurgens and Brett Breeding, what's his name? Hold on, I cannot remember the dude's name. Brett Breeding, yeah. Okay, look at how we get this angle of Dr. Doom looking down, or this upward angle of J. Jonah Jameson looking up and irritated. Same here. How we kind of get that low angle Dutch camera going on. Because think about this. Even though it's flat on, it's not full flat on. Like they're just like looking at each other because it looked like they were kissing. So they get that angle there. The same thing here. Look at the way that Doomsday smashes Superman on the ground. It's not front. It's at a kind of again, another Dutch angle. How you can see Doomsday leaning into pushing Superman down. And see how we get a sound effect, 2 sound effects, and a word balloon. We don't need more than that. And then the action lines show where the action's coming from, smash them down. That's why these are so prevalent in manga. And you can just see it here. Superman's getting his head smashed down, and he's trying to say, can't breathe, can't move, can't. And then we kind of just get this cool little, I can't remember the way that they'd say this in lettering, but how it starts kind of regular, and then poof, because he's being interrupted. And then, of course, the dramatic moment where is it? Hold on. Having a brain fart, folks. When he kisses Lois, the action line's used in a different way. And it's sort of straightforward, but we're looking at it more up because Superman's taking off. So again, let's go to a different panel here real quick. So here's one way. I said, let's play a game. Let's take a typical Marvel comic situation, something that might happen in an Avengers story, and draw it 2 different ways. So we see a monster busting through the Avengers mansion. We kind of see Vision, Cap, and Iron Man. They turn around like, oh my goodness, we got to get into action, and they start running. Iron Man goes in for a swing. We get the action lines that we were just talking about. The monster picks him up, kind of like we were talking about with the death of Superman just a minute ago. And then Vision and Cap are like, oh no. But see how everything is just full front on. There's no conveying of, urgency, dramaticness, worrisome. Now let's go to how it would be drawn the Marvel way. The Dutch angle that we were just talking about, busting through. All the Avengers startled, ready to go, running into action. Iron Man taking a swing. Hold on, let me get back to our example here. Hold on. So kind of taking a swing, look at the way Doomsday here flings Superman, how it's an upward dramatic angle. Now going back to Buscema's art here, see how the monster picks up Iron Man halfway and then they're just this, oh no, what's going to happen? So we look at this and then compare it to this. This would not work or be as impactful as if we had this panel. So we go back to the second one. See how we get that sense of urgency from both panels, how they kind of give off that same energy as the TikTokers say. That's the idea. Now, setting aside a more old school comic from '93, we'll be going over this comic here in the near future. I haven't read it yet, but I just kind of flipped through it and I was like, okay, here's exactly what I want to talk about. Now, again, nothing innately wrong with it, but it just doesn't feel as impactful as, say, the death of Superman. So let's talk about here. Yes, there's an angle, but it's not as dramatic. It doesn't have that same sense of urgency. But at least here you kind of see the perspective lines. So at least we get some, dramaticness there. Now, real quick, let me go ahead and credit the artists. This is Erica Schultz, writer, Edgar Salazar doing the art, Carlos Lopez doing the colors, and VC's Corey Petit doing the lettering, and Kalman, oh my God, Andres Sosowski. I'm so sorry if I destroyed that, but that was the cover artist. But look at how Laura jumps in through the window here. Does that not kind of look like that first monster panel that we're talking about compared to this? Look at that. Flat. Flat. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, she's drawn correctly. She looks like X-23. But everything just feels very flat. I mean, think about it. If they would have taken a panel like this and made it more like this or like this compared to forward, 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 flat. That's why I think a lot of artists, like modern artists, they've got it. But they need to take their work a step forward. They need to push themselves some more to get to this. That all of us that have grown up read comics, this is what we expected from Marvel, DC, and then when Image came around, what we expected from Image, and all the predecessors that came along. Until, I don't know, just somewhere down the road, it was like, a lot of artists up and coming, but they need to push themselves. And that's, again, this is another book that we'll be going over here in the near future. And this is the creators that inspired me to finally go over this book, Interdimensional. Now, real quick, I will reference the artists. Just a second. So this is Evan Schultz, script, colors, and letters, and Lydia Roberts, who does layouts, pencil, inks, and pencils, inks, and sound effects. So I follow both of them on TikTok, and that's kind of what introduced me to Bad Ink Studio. But Schultz, what I appreciate about his side is he gives a lot of comic book tutorials. He does a lot about how to do wording, how to do the inking, because that's his specialty, and how you can use inking and lettering to convey the story on top of the artwork. And he'll always throw up against like old school comics as a reference, kind of like what I'm trying to do. But you can kind of see where using this book, they start to kind of get the idea of using medium shots, wide shots, close shots, visual storytelling. And it looks great. You can see where they're drawing the inspiration from the greats. And I remember one time I was at a Comic-Con, and there was a who was it? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, But I asked him how he broke into comics. And he said, it's easy. Just be able to draw better than me. Okay, challenge accepted, but I get it. But with that said, once you've been able, just hone your skills, talk to people in the know, gather as much information as you can, and you guys will go far. I mean, look at that. That looks like something out of Heavy Metal magazine right there. And what I love is Schultz, again, doing all these tutorials on the Bad Inks TikTok channel, said if you guys want to get better at drawing, inking, lettering, etc., so forth, he said go read How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And I'm, oh god, that'd be something great to kind of piggyback off of, because this was one of the books that really inspired me to, rather than just doing traditional drawing, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just loved comics and wanted to be able to mix my mediums. Hence why I love doing the action figure reviews, because it's able to mix my artwork, my love for photography, my love for digital art, and my love for comics and action figures all into one way to just be able to express myself. And this always gets me burned up to want to get my sketch pad back up. And that's why I hope every single one of y'all, everyone that I've talked to and said, I'd love to be able to do this or that, I want to see y'all find the creative means within yourselves to express your art, whether it's photography, sketching, inking, still animation, film, whatever it is that you guys are passionate about. Gather as much information as you can and just do everything you can to better yourself every day. And there was another creator, I can't remember if this was Schultz or someone else, but they said you're going to make a lot of bad art in the beginning, but the more mistakes you make, the more you'll learn. And that's what's important, is you learn from your mistakes. People be like, oh, I suck, and they throw it out the window. Don't do that. Keep persevering, guys. Find what it is that makes you passionate and run with it. So with that said, I hope y'all have enjoyed this little review. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, whether it's How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, interdimensional from Bad Ink Studio, which these guys are independently publishing this book. They have 2 issues out. Go hit up their website and grab the copies. We will be reviewing issues 1 and 2 here in the near future. If you've enjoyed X-23 Deadly Genesis from Marvel Comics, go to your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to buy your comics and action figures and grab that. Same with DC Comics Death is Superman. If you've enjoyed that, either try to go get the individual singles like we talked about in the review yesterday, or the collected omnibuses. And if you guys have enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you want to hit that fancy little Marvel bell next to subscribe, that way we can continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading and creating, and happy hunting, true believers.